welcome to episode 61 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you for today from Norwich in Norfolk, and today is the 28th of February. Hope you've all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoke to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe the YouTube channel if you want to see more, because then you'll see when my next video has been put up, and I'm tending to do one once a week at the moment, so hopefully I can keep that up. I hope you're not being overwhelmed by all these little podcasts I've been doing. Try to keep them short though this time. So I've got some knitting, some sewing, some rag rugging, some candle making and some spinning to show you today. And also I've got some information of things I'm going to put in my shop update, which will be tomorrow at 7 PM GMT, which is the 1st of March. You can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Facebook as Craft House Magic, and my website, where I sell all my handmade crafty items that are mostly related to knitting, is crafthousemagik.co.uk, and you can find all the links down in the down bar for all those things if you want to find me there. We've got a few craft-alongs going on at the moment, and this is over in the Ravelry group, and I'll leave links to the Ravelry group down below as well. So we've got the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I say knit along, but I accept any sort of fibre crafts that are related to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Anything that you're making ready for the festival that's on the 21st of March. Come over into the Ravelry group and chat about what you're making. And if you're not going, come and share it anyway. Pretend you're coming and I'll put a video up of my little journey over to Edinburgh Yarn Festival and how I get on, and you can pretend you've been, because I know that it's quite a trek for some people obviously, and not everyone can come, but it's always nice to sort of join in and pretend that you're going. Right, so we've also got the Gnome Along going on over in the Ravelry group, where we make either crocheted or knitted gnomes, and it finishes today, so make sure you get your entries over in the Ravelry group as well. And then I've got one little announcement. A lovely lady called Margie, who is a fan of the podcast, has got some tatting equipment that she'd like to give away to somebody. She doesn't want to sell it as such, but I thought it might be nice if I announced it on the podcast and see if we can find a good home for it. So I'll pop a picture here of the little bits and bobs that she's got. If you think you might make use of these things, drop me a message on my email, which is crafthousemagik@gmail.com, and I'll pass your details along to Margie. So thank you very much, Margie. So let's get on with the knitting section first. And Barbara's going to help me with this section. Come on, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. So as you can see, I've got a little bit further with my cardigan. So this pattern is the Cherry Blossom cardigan, and it's by Lena Tosti. And I always should get the front of the pattern ready to show you, so you can actually see how you spell the lady who's written this marvellous pattern. So that's the Cherry Blossom cardigan, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And this is how far I've got so far. Somebody commented, I think, on the last video that it looks more like a jumper, but I'm going to steek it up the front once I've done the sleeves and things. So since the last episode, I think I've done from about there. I finished off some hip shaping, and then I've done some 1x1 twisted rib around the bottom here. And instead of keeping in the round, I've actually been working backwards and forwards and leaving a gap at the front here, because this is going to be the steek. And that's part of what the pattern says anyway. So what I did for my 1x1 twisted rib is I did on the rows where I was on the right side, I knitted in the back loop of the knit stitches and just normal with the pearls. And then on the wrong side, I knitted in the front loop of the knit like normal, and in the back loop I pearled the back loop of the pearls, which is a bit fiddly, which took me forever. This is why I haven't got much more done since the last episode. But I think you can see that it's coming into shape better. At least I've finished the full body, and I've also picked up the sleeve on the one side, and I've knitted this far so far, and you can see all my stitch markers, I think, hanging just there. But I think that the arms are going to knit up much quicker than the main part of the body, because there were so many stitches to go around my tummy. But I think it's coming along all right, and I think I've got about 3 weeks to go to get to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, so I'm sure I can make it. I shall show you the back. Oh, Barbara, you're still a bit squeaky. You can just about see where my shaping is on the back there, and once it's blocked, hopefully that'll look a little bit neater. So the 1x1 twisted rib wasn't actually in the pattern. There was some sort of colour work there, but I wasn't as keen on adding more colour work to the cardigan, so I decided to go for the 1x1 twisted rib there. But I think it's going to look nice. So what I've got left to do, I've got to do the 2 sleeves, and I've got to steek the cardigan, which means I've got to secure either side of where I'm going to cut it and literally cut up the front of the cardigan. And then I've got to pick up stitches for the button band. So it does sound like I've got quite a lot to do, but I'm sure I can do it. I've been having a very busy weekend this weekend, doing lots of other crafts, so I didn't get that much time to work on this. So hopefully in the next week I'm going to work on this like crazy. So once I've done the steeking and the button band, I can then pick up stitches around the neck, which has a provisional cast on edge there which I can pull out, and hopefully that should be quite easy to pick up the stitches. This cardigan I'm knitting in John Arbon Textiles Knit by Numbers in the 4-ply weight yarn, and it's 100% merino, which is a non-superwash yarn. And I have actually found that in the colourwork section I have encountered some pilling already, but I'm going to block the garment after I finish knitting it, and then I'll just de-pill the top there, because I did quite a lot of handling of this area because it was the 2 colour work and then the duplicate stitching with the 2 other colours, which there's a lot of handling of that small area. But there we go. I think she's coming along nicely. I'm calling my cardigan a she now. But yeah, I quite like the way that you picked up stitches around the arm as well. I found that that was neater than the way I'd picked up stitches before. I don't really want to talk about it too much because it is a paid for pattern, exactly how I did it, but it was a nice way to get a nice neat edge under the arm there. And I could always just do short sleeves, couldn't I, if I wanted to rush it along a little bit. But I am really pleased with how it's coming along so far. And I think this is the first garment I've knitted that I've really tried to shape, and it's worked quite well. So I did, if you watched the last episode, I talked about how I did some short row shaping for the bust area. And I think it looks like there's a little bit of a pocket there coming out when Barbara's wearing it, but fortunately, well, no, unfortunately, my boobs fill it out a little bit more than Barbara does, so it does fit me a little bit better than it does Barbara. But there we go, that's the knitting section, and as we've got quite a few more sections, I better get on to the next one. Thanks, Barbara. Oh, she's good, isn't she? Right, so we're on to the sewing section. So if you watch me on Instagram, you'll have seen that I popped a picture of the beginnings of what I'm going to show you now. Well, I haven't finished it, so I picked up this book. Well, I didn't pick it up, Adam bought it me for Christmas, and I think it was not 2018 but maybe 2017, or it might have been even 2016, I don't know, but I've been dying to make this gorgeous rabbit, or hare I should say, and it's the Lunar Lapin book. And the author is Sarah Peel, and I'll leave a link down below to where you can get it on Amazon. Absolutely gorgeous. This coat, see if I can get a... Oh, goodness me, look at this. Look at that coat. How cute is that? And there's some really nice little dresses in there as well. Let's see if I can find a picture of the dress. And also there's a cute little armchair that you can make, which is, oh, utterly adorable. Look at that. Try not to show you the pattern as it's obviously a paid for book, but there's lots of little outfits that you can make. There's also a little waistcoat and things, but this dress really appeals to me. So how have I got on with her? So I'm using some I don't know if there's wool in it, but some felt that I picked up from my local sewing shop just up the road, and this is how I've got on with her head so far. So it's like a mottled, it's actually slightly more brown than it's picking up in the camera, but a lovely mottled textured wool. And then I've used some gorgeous Liberty print fabric for the ears there, And I've got some more Liberty print to make a dress with, so that'll be lovely. Not the same as this, a different one. And I actually thought that the way that the head is constructed is absolutely genius. I think that's really, really clever. And I really enjoyed making the face. And I made a little nose, how cute! And I popped some little brown buttons that, if they're sort of a tortoiseshell effect, they're not solid colour. So that's her little face and head. And I've done her legs! So these are made in the same felt, and I've put the same Liberty fabric that I used for her ears as the bases of her feet as well. You can actually make little shoes for her, which is so cute. So I've cut out the other pieces for the rest of her body, but I haven't finished those up yet. But hopefully I'll get a bit of time later today to do some work on that. It's exciting. And I cannot wait to start the dress and the coat. Absolutely adorable. And I think I might have to make the little sofa. Do you think we can fit her up there somewhere so that you can see her? I need more shelves, I think. We might have to get rid of some of these boxes in here so we can see her up there. Right, so we've got, the next thing is rag rugging. So I had a couple of lovely friends visiting over at this weekend, and we all did some different crafts. So my lovely friend Rachel showed us how to do rag rugging, and I made this brooch from rag rugging. I didn't even think that you could use rag rugging for a different sort of technique, and I made it absolutely huge, so I'm going to use it on my bag because the purples go really well with a bag that I made ages ago. Let me take it off there. Yeah, this is definitely a bit big to go on clothing. You can sort of see that it would be a little bit large to wear on clothing. So you can't actually see on the back, but underneath this piece of felt that I've put on here was some hessian, and then I dragged pieces of fabric through the holes in that to create this effect, and then I've added some little beads to give some texture there. I have actually added some sequins as well, and some tiny little beads, because you can never have too many beads and sequins, can you? And the fabrics I've used for this one are actually quite a bit of jersey scraps, and that is brilliant because finding things to do with jersey scraps is a nightmare, because you get such tiny little pieces and you think, well, what am I going to do with those? You can sort of make underwear with them, but if they get so small you can't really do much. So rag rugging, brilliant idea for that. And I've also used some sort of fake velvet pieces as well, which give it a nice texture. And then there's some areas where the velvet's curled up, which gives a really nice effect because it's still quite thick. And I've, like I showed you before, I've just mounted it on a little bit of felt on the back and added one of these pins, and I think that's brilliant because I don't really see that I'd make a big rag rug for the house, but making little brooches like this, or massive brooches like this, is quite fun really. I don't think that the purple's coming out quite so much in the camera, but you get the gist. I think it's slightly pinkier purple than it is coming up on the camera. It looks a bit greyer. But that's my make number 3. And the next one is candle making. So my friend Catherine, who also come at the weekend, she's done quite a bit of candle making. So we got some soy wax and we melted it over a bain-marie on the stove, and we made some candles. So this one here, oh, it's peppermint, it's gorgeous, and we've used a hemp wick in there. Apparently though, you're supposed to leave the wax about a week before you can actually light it, and I don't know if you're like me, but when you have a lovely new candle I don't want to light it at all because it's so pretty when it's nice and fresh. But there we go. So that one was a peppermint scent, and I think I used about 50 drops of peppermint essential oils into the wax after I just melted it and it had started to cool down, and then popped it in here with the wick already stuck down to the bottom, and it was easy enough to do. And I did pop some photographs on my Instagram page of the wax before it had set properly, which I thought was quite interesting. And we also did some other little candles, and you might recognise this jar as one of those goo pots that you get desserts in. I might have had quite a few of those. So I picked up some of those to do some candle making with, and we used a different type of wick here, and I should have actually trimmed this before I showed it you really, but you can actually see how wide this is. A wooden wick instead of the hemp one that I've used for the other candle. And this, I can't remember what the flavour of the essential oil was I put in here. We had a lovely choice. Catherine bought loads, but isn't that a lovely white, creamy white candle? And I can just keep making them. I shall let you know how I get on burning them, but that was really loads of fun. And also, because it's made of soy wax, it's supposed to be healthier with them burning in rather than compared to the paraffin wax ones. So we shall see how I get on with those. And the last crafty thing that I've got to share with you this week is my spinning. I actually plied my yarn that I started over Vlogmas. So I plied, this is a silk and merino mix, and the bat came, well, it wasn't a bat, it was a combed top, and it was from Wingham Woolwork, and I'll leave a link to them down below. And it was multiple colours, so that there was pinks, purples, blues, and some sort of white in there. And I just thought, I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to spin it so it's all over the place and it'll all mix together. And it actually comes across as quite a sort of purpley, quite a purple colour overall. And I don't think that comes up quite as nice, the colour, as it is in real life. But you can see how it's spun up anyway. There's a couple of bits that I've ended up with a little bit thick, because I always end up doing that somehow. I must lose concentration and end up with thick bits. But I'm not quite sure what I'm going to make with it yet. It looks like it's sort of DK, maybe slightly thinner. I need to measure it, but it is actually still damp because I washed it this morning. So I shall undo that and have it drying over the radiator, and then I can decide on what weight I think it is and what yardage I've got, and I can label it up so I don't forget, because sometimes I forget and I don't label it and then I've no idea what things are. Does anybody else do that with their spinning? So I'm so glad to have finished that, because I wanted to try, I've got so many other lovely tops, multiple coloured tops in my stash that I wanted to get spun up. It always takes me ages to ply up yarn. I just think, well, I want to do it all in one go, and it tends to take sort of a couple of hours. So I tend to think, oh, I'll do that another time, because I don't think I can fit it in this evening or whatever. But stop babbling, Ellie. So just before I talk about my shop update, I wanted to give a shout out to the lovely Yolanda who's Happeeknits, and she's got a fantastic podcast. So if you're looking for a new podcast, go and check her out. I will leave a link down below, but she's called the Happeeknits. It's got 2 E's and 2 P's in it. I'll leave a link down below so you can find her anyway. But she gave me a shout out too. So hello, Yolanda. Hi, Jordan. Oh dear. If anybody's listened to me out the window talking to myself in the camera. So, right, just going to talk to you about what's going to be in the shop update tomorrow. I've got some spring bags that I've made up this week. So I've got this gorgeous sheepy fabric that I've made up with some drawstrings at the moment, but I'm going to list some zipped ones as well. And these are sort of a medium-sized bag, and I've made these like a nice chunky bottom on them, so that there's lots of space around the base of the bag while it's stood up. You can see that I've stuck some skeins of yarn in here so that you can see how many goes in. But there's three full skeins of yarn and a mini in there, and there's still plenty of room. And we've got a couple of little pockets at the edge there, and this cute little sheep lining as well, because I couldn't resist using the 2 fabrics. And then of course I've just stamped it with my little logo there, and that's a drawstring, and it'll look like that. So I reckon you could get about 5 skeins in there, so I class that as a medium-sized bag. I may list some smaller ones as well, just in case you wanted sort of a sock size, slightly smaller. And I'm going to try and get some DPN cases and circular needle cases done in the same fabric for tomorrow's update. But if you want to see what exactly is going to be in the shop update, because I've got a few things I'm going to work on this evening and tomorrow morning, you can see on my Instagram page, and I'll leave a link down below to my Instagram page, which is Craft House Magic. But there we go. I just wanted to show you this cute new fabric. Aren't they sheep cute? And I don't think you can go wrong with some sheep fabric for knitting bag. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. And I shall see you next week. And hopefully I'll get a lot more done on my cardigan. We'll see. See you next time. Bye.